Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. Once again, I'd like to welcome Dr. Pooja Bhatt, who's going to talk to us about the recent BRI summit in China. Xi Jinping had this thought that he would try and make the BRI into the Chinese G20. And that's the narrative which is being spoken about from China. A lot of Chinese media is saying, see, we can also collect a lot of world leaders. Interesting. World leaders of from where? The most corrupt, the most backward, the most, I don't know what nations in the planet. But in any case, those guys also decided to give a skip. Let's talk to her and find out what really happened. Why is Vlad Putin upset? And what did China actually achieve out of this thing? Hello, Pooja, and thank you so much for coming back. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Hi, good afternoon. Always good to be back and speaking to you on China and everything China. So I'm looking forward to it.
So, what do you think? What happened? I mean, 140 countries coming in, delegates were there. Haan, theek hai, delegates were there. I think about what 23, 24 countries came in with their heads of states,
27.
and yeah, 27 countries. And how do you think the overall thing went off? What was his agenda, and how do you think it kind of went off?
Okay, so to start with, it is the 10th anniversary of BRI. BRI started somewhere in 2013, 14, and Prime President Xi Jinping. So it was a issue of pride for him to showcase it in a big manner. So he wanted, and also then it's a third BRF, Belt and Road Forum. So he wanted this to be, grand pomp and show that like everything China wants to have, and that's the way they operate. Uh, Seeing from that point of view, he definitely wanted to make a big show out of it, and he wanted to show that he can collect so many world leaders. So each year on year, they see we have, BRI has cooperation from over 140 countries, 30 organizations, all that, big numbers they keep throwing here and there. But the taste of the pudding lies in its taste. How when you taste it, you will get to know what are the truth about it. Um, so, as scholars of international relations, we would see what was the kind of attendance there this year. There was what was the composition of the attendance, what were the agenda, what were the outcomes. That is the basis how we actually calculated. And surprisingly, if you surprisingly not or not surprisingly, if you see the when the first year it was, they had around 30 around leaders who were a party to it. Leaders are head of states, I meant.
Yeah.
And then second year, the number went a bit higher on a higher side, and people were actually touting it as the second BRF last year. That it actually they are gaining more and more momentum because the leadership attendance were high around 35,
Hmm.
if I'm
Hmm.
correct, or somewhere near that, like little 4 5 upper niche, upper basically. Third, this year the attendance was just 27 leaders globally. Okay, and that too were the leaders of the like-minded countries, Pakistan, and some countries from Africa and Middle East. So the like-minded leaderships, if you see, those were there. But a lot of European leaders were not there. You remember recently Italy said they are pulling out. So there was speculation that they might attend, might not attend. Greece did not attend. Switzerland did not attend. So a lot of European leaders did not attend. Others, I can't relate it, but this is interesting to know that because of whatever is going on in the Middle East right now, a lot of Middle East leaders also did not attend. Maybe because of the Israel-Palestine thing that's going on. Maybe that might be have been the reason, but maybe that was a pretext of not coming to BRI also. So you can just read it whichever way you can want. So we had leadership missing from there. We also had leadership missing from Southeast Asia. We had, I think, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Myanmar. These leaders
Malaysia,
were not.
Philippines, and Indonesia
Indonesia
were
were
there.
missing. Yeah, huh. Were there?
Well,
No,
Indonesia was there.
head, head of states were not there. No? So
Hmm.
head of
Indonesia was
states.
there. Indonesia head of state was there.
Ha ha ha. So you can see the kind of and even Central Asian Republican countries were not there. I think Kyrgyzstan,
Yeah.
Tajikistan, right? Maybe. So these were the kind of compositions which was missing, which was very interesting to note that these were there is some kind of now disappointment with BRI in certain ways that can be the reason. Also, the photograph, the famous photograph that is circulating on internet, that where which shows the leaders, the family group photo. Yes, the group photo we are talking about each year. The first year you see the number of people, second year and third year. And third year, if you look closely, you have, as you rightly also pointed out, we have more female, the wives of those leaders to make it look bulky, the image look bulky. Otherwise, if you might remove the spouses, that image would be even smaller. So this is kind of interesting. Other thing is, global south was largely missing, and that can be said, that can be a reason to think that they are maybe supporting G20 more, because the same countries are also, a lot of them are also supporting India and G20 and those kind of initiative. So is G20, has G20 with this current setup where India made it a voice of global south kind of
Hmm. Hmm.
um, given it that kind of image, has G20 emerged as a very reliable competitive you know competitor to BRI? And now we have seen
Hmm.
how these countries, how the agenda, membership, the participation is shaped in G20, and how it is shaped in, now they can see both the sides, right? How their participation matters in each of these. Maybe that can be the reason of one of the reason why the countries are shying away in participating in this BRI kind of it's a forum. So these would be my initial observations about it.
You mentioned something very interesting, the global south, because that is like a competition today, I think, between India and China. One of the biggest वही है दोनों के बीच में कि भाई who will, global
Who
south
is
मेरा है नहीं मेरा है नहीं मेरा है. And the funny
correct?
thing is, China ne, he never spoke about the global south till about 2 3 years ago.
Correct.
He wanted to be the global north. I mean, he wanted to shift that line downwards. He said, nah, I'm not with these poor old countries and stuff like that. So it's interesting that you brought that out. I want to ask you about, there've been talks about, oh, we will do this investment, we will do that investment, and as a matter of fact, Wang Yi gave a press conference on that, which was printed in Chinese media. I wonder. I'm sure you know that the Chinese people reacted pretty badly
You
to
were
that.
mentioning the Wangi's recent statement. Do I have?
Yeah, about this thing that we can build bridges, we can build this thing much faster than everybody
Hmm.
else, and this and that.
Correct.
And the Chinese media, the Chinese people reacted very badly because they said, "Yeah, what is this nonsense? You're doing everything outside here. We don't have jobs, we don't have food. What are you doing?" So, how do you think that that has been absorbed within China? Is this Xi Jinping's own private personal moment, or are the Chinese people also recognize the value or something like this? If you're going to compare it to G20, that's something that should be analyzed.
Okay, first part first. The importance of BRI for Xi Jinping, mm, both at the domestic and the international level. It's a very important question to keep asking and keep analyzing. Because for Xi Jinping, it's a major prestige project that he started just immediately he came to power in
Took
2013.
over. Yeah.
The entire idea of the BRI project was that he wanted this, development within the country, and he wanted the middle class and the lower middle class to reach the next, upper class and all that. So with that idea, he realized the only way of doing it is to you use the entire demography as a vehicle for development, use them to in the as manufacturers. So manufacture products and sell them out, and that would be your road to global first economic development. Second, you will be uplifting people from poverty and everything. And third, you will, once you are economic power, you will be also recognized as a global power, which China definitely wants to do in next 20-30 years. So these are all linked up issues. Now, with COVID happening, and with a lot of ecological disasters and the political military purges within the country, China's population is quite unhappy. There's economy is dwindling. There's huge unemployment issues. So what is happening is people are thinking that Xi Jinping is not delivering what he actually set out for initially. And to revive his own glory, Xi Jinping is trying to, I think from my perspective, he's trying to push the BRI project really hard. Otherwise it was nearly doomed. The way if you see past few years, BRI has taken a bad hit in terms of delivery, in terms of public perception. But he has not Xi Jinping has not taken a step back. Every time he takes a step back, he will have 10 new measures coming up, because not only he has to show it to international community that BRI is right there and doing quite well despite all the negative whatever. He has to prove it to his dynastic constituency more. For him, it's a big prestige issue, that I would say. So, that we were talking that even if people are unhappy, more people are unhappy, it's more on him to make them happy by by making this project a success. So, so if you see it this way, BRI is not going anywhere till the time Xi Jinping is there, because he will keep pushing it hard, because it would be ultimate legacy he'll be leaving behind. Hu Jintao had a legacy. Deng Xiaoping had a legacy. It is his legacy matter. So he cannot let this project fail. A lot resides on this. So that's how I would see it.
It's a personal ego.
It is huge personal ego.
That's important. Now, I want to show this photograph once again, just to nitpick, if I may, become an old grandmother and nitpick into this photograph. And with all respect to all the grandmothers in the world, the first one you see, I mean, as you also mentioned, बड़े सारे लोग हैं, काफी सारे हैं. Uh, you know, at that time, I think Aung San Suu Kyi was also there. I can see that thin figure wearing white and brown on the right hand side. There's the same guy who ate her up after that through his
Hmm.
little dabbling in this thing. The second one, so first one and second one, you can make out that there was a certain plan. They've done a backdrop, they've done a photo area, they've done all this stuff. काफी कुछ planning करी है. In this one, this looks like a more of a random photograph. So why am I nitpicking like this? Is because you brought out something to say in terms of a legacy issue, right? So is this going to be pushed forward just because Xi Jinping wants to maintain his legacy of the BRI? Because he's now, gone into these through BRI, he's gone into this global developmental, initiative, the global security initiative, the global
GDI.
civilization. So, is this his legacy? So he has to keep it on. How do you kind of put it from the Chinese perspective? How do they look at it? यार करना पड़ेगा, अब तो कर चुके हैं. We have to do this now. There's no other way.
So in diplomacy, as much as governments are ready in the foreign policy issues to start a new venture, the moment they realize that it's not working out, they let it die a slow death.
Yeah.
That is a
You
general
can.
way of doing it.
Mhm.
This is a general way of doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
In all these years, we haven't seen this being done by Xi Jinping. The moment we see that this project is not working out, he would just propel 10 times, and try 10 times harder, and use all his tactics and tools to propel the projects, hook and crook. And you can just name any number of projects in any number of ways, whether it is influencing state actors, non-state actors, whether it's the businessmen, so they are trying very hard. This picture shows that, see, first picture was very interesting, that it was a formal setup, and there was that diversity, there were female
Yeah.
leaders and everything. You can see all the people of color. Second became more male centric and more, informal kind of setting. And when you come to third, and it gives me an idea that why it would be next to a staircase, and one, if you compare to the first picture, this third picture is a number of people are less, and it's no, it's towards the end of a staircase there, or starting of a staircase they're standing. It just goes on to show that because they understood that the participation is not much this year, leaders are not there. Let's fill it up with their spouses, and just pick up a space which is smaller. Because
Smaller
if you
and
if
थोड़ा लंबा ऊंचा दिखेगा,
हाँ,
तो
हाँ,
look a little
हाँ, हाँ,
grander. हाँ.
exactly. It's a playing up with the public image, basically. That. So that is quite interesting to see. China does not agree that the project is failing or anything, but the picture and the figures say otherwise. Other interesting thing what I noticed was, and it's quite natural with the Chinese statements as well, that they never come out with the report card of the last year, like these number of projects have happened, this has been the development, this has been, you know
That's
if
right.
you see the outcome document that had come from China, and you read it through, like people like me have read it, so you would very clearly see they say 369 or 370, 369 concrete outcomes are decided this year. And if you go down to scroll niche, what are the outcomes? It is divided into five, six subsections: that bilateral document, bilateral cooperation, cooperation projects, ये वो करके. But they all are futuristic. None of
Hmm.
them shows the completion of whatever. Nowhere it is mentioned which of the projects are completed till now. We have heard that there's over 40, 45, 60%. I don't remember the number also. Projects going on globally since 2010. Never we have heard an outcome document saying that these many projects have completed over these years, or these are ongoing. Every time they come out with a statement, it will be saying, we are starting this, we have signed for this is MOU, we are starting this new project. So there is never a outcome document, if you understand what I mean, that there is nothing about report card. It's always about, we will do this, we will do this, we will do this, and
Hmm.
never telling what exactly we have done the next year. If you have an annual event happening, you will always start by saying, that these are this was the achievement for the last year, and this year we are doing this. Never in their statements, the outcome documents will mention that what have we. So we actually do not know what are the level of completion these projects are undergoing. So that gives you a clear picture that everything remain ambitious, all the projects start, but we have no clear picture about what is their existing condition, what level they have reached in terms of completion, and how many have they completed. So that gives me a different idea about the entire project, despite the grandiose that they show, that they'll be turning into 32 trillion in the coming year, in terms of trade data, 5 trillion in services. So these are just inflated, figures in heads, but there's nothing on the ground that to prove that.
That's interesting. There is also a report that I was reading somewhere. I think it's written by Axios or somebody. I forget right now. He says that out of the 1 trillion that the Chinese have already spent,
Hmm.
almost 40% was put into bribes and you know this and that and the other to kind of get the project going in various countries, by influence, by the leaders, uh, local authorities, this, that, and the other. How far do you think? I mean, I don't know if 30% is too inflated a figure, but even if, let's say, about thumbnail with a thumb rule, about 20-25% is gone in just that. That's a
Uh,
that's not a
Yes.
return money that you're going to get in return. And a lot of people now say that this was not done so that the Chinese could make money. How do you put these two things in perspective?
See, I have not read the report, but I would believe in a part of it that Chinese approach the projects that way. They would bribe it out with political leaders, business community, and that has been a constant trend. But we can't prove it, right? This is something that cannot be proven unless you have the end records to it. So even if somebody comes out with a report saying that this China has actually bribed out a lot, a big portion of BRI projects in all the countries, I wouldn't be surprised. That can be very much possible. But at the same time, I would be a little conscious about agreeing to the point that China does not need money and they are not doing the entire project for money. A country which is, on the verge of economic, collapse, every
Yeah.
now and then they have, these housing crises, these economic crises coming up, people are unhappy, you're unemployed. How can you not be worried about money, even if it's businessmen money, Chinese businessmen money that the state is putting into other, the businessmen work for the return on investments, right? For how
True.
long are they going to take the hit? So I would be, I don't know, I would not be very comfortable with the idea from people who would say that, China is not, worried about the money factor. It's just the influence factor there. I would say it's both.
That's the whole thing, because I think the Chinese are trying to spin a little propaganda. No, no, this was an outreach and this and that.
Hmm.
It's more of a military strategic outreach where they wanted to create uh, their strategic points around the world and stuff like that, which actually fails me to understand. There are two wars happening right now. One is in Ukraine and second is in Israel. China, to a large extent, owned about 6% of the arable land in Ukraine.
Hmm.
Okay, that arable land is gone to the dust. Uh, China had, I think, 42 projects of the digital Silk Road within Israel, and I think a total projects of 24-25 billion dollars, if I'm not mistaken. It's a large scale sort of a game in Israel itself. And here is also China trying to finger around and support Iran and Hamas against Israel. What is this? I mean, is this geopolitics taking over geoeconomics, or it's a complete confusion of the both? And what does that tell you about the Chinese actually pre-planning of their risk geopolitical risk analysts on LinkedIn? Every third person is a geopolitical risk analyst. They should have hired someone, don't you think so?
I think we have enough experts on Twitter and on LinkedIn
Yeah.
and in the social media to talk about it. And I think I should refrain from being an expert on the issue. But uh, actually, the point is geopolitics is geoeconomics. It's all about
Geo.
money. It's all about money. Why? The BRI is money, IMAC is money. All these projects are money. If you don't have money, where is the power? And all the
Yeah.
powerful countries realize this. If there is no money, so it's quite interesting to see the Chinese projects that have taken a hit in these countries. And speculation can be made that if these things have happened, there can be a long thread attached to China, that all these wherever China had stakes and major economic stakes, political stakes, I think those connections are trying to be they're trying to break the connection, so that China is at the losing end by US or by the Western power. That's again speculation. Until the time we get to more, it would be just a few months, few years before we can just say something very concretely. Everything
Hmm.
we can make a lot of theories, hypotheses about it, with the ongoing events. Every single day you have 10
Something.
hundreds new developments, and every time you add up, something new comes up. So speculations could be endless right now. I would not speculate anything, but yes, China is taking a major hit. That is very true. That even if China is supporting Palestine cause, if supporting the militant cause, even if I'm being very clear about, then if that is the truth, China is taking a major hit by the Western powers and other countries which are coming together against China in these issues. And if the China connections come to be in the limelight in the coming years, that China was involved in these issues and everything, I think China's reputational cost, it would be big time hit.
I wonder if he's actually worried about his reputation at some time. He should be, but in any case, let's come down to Russia. You know, Vlad was not very happy. We
Hmm.
know that he. Some people attribute that Nini, he didn't say till the last minute because he was not going. And by the way, okay, let me just put that in perspective. He was not confirming that he was going. His Dmitry Peskov, the spokesman of Putin's office, the presidential office, actually, till the 14th, 15th, I think, he said, no, no, we'll let you know there's something happening, this, that, Evo, and everything like that.
Hmm.
How do you see that? Because Putin is like, you know, best friend. What happened here?
See, Russia, China are strange bedfellows. They are together because they have to be right now. Otherwise, alone they don't stand anywhere, and they know they need to support. That doesn't mean that they like each other a lot. And yesterday only, I was talking to one of the Russian officials, like just on a sidelines somewhere, and on a general talk. And it was very obvious to hear that Russians still do not like China much, but they they see India as a friend to Russia, China as a friend to Russia, and they do not want to even pick up sides. So for them, Russia is a very vulnerable stage right now. They're just ongoing with a war. Their economy is equally bad. The only source is their military sales. So and all they can rely upon is their old allies and friends, including India. So I think that is the China Russia camaraderie is a very a relationship of convenience, and we have to see it from that point of view. Uh, Even if uh, Vladimir Putin was not very happy about going, and which looked like it. Like till the last moment, you're the head of the state is visiting a country, a different country, and such kind of engagements are generally announced beforehand by the foreign ministry. And the spokesperson himself, till a day before the
Yeah.
inauguration, is confirming, we will let you know. uh, Raises a lot of red flags that something is not right. Either, and it can be anything. Either Putin was not keeping well physically, which is more and less now the thing. Even during BRICS, there were a lot of people made out a lot of this thing that Putin is not keeping well and his travel looks very on this thing. So that could be one reason. Another reason would be his own discontentment with BRI and certain aspects of it, where Russia is not happy. So the chances could be a lot. But for China, calling Vladimir Putin as the chief guest was also equally important, because at the time where more and more world leaders are now avoiding Putin to invite. If you see, remember BRICS, it was the entire hue and cry that if Putin comes, he will be arrested because of the war criminal and all that. That kind of so China is basically trying to show this defiance to the international system, that he can invite one world leader who's wanted by the international war for his international war crime, and can be invited as a chief guest. But he was not even called a chief guest, if you remember. In the
Mm.
Chinese media, it was, I think, guest of honor or some other term they used, if you translate
This time they didn't
Mandarin.
actually. Last time they this time I don't know if they actually referred. They gave the honor,
Honor,
but
some honor they
I
said,
didn't
but
I
they
didn't really see the readout saying anything of that sort.
Hmm. In fact, it was just the Russian, newspaper reports and Russian statements that they said that Putin has been invited as a,
Guest of honor, yeah,
chief guest or guest of honor. But I
whatever. Huh.
think Chinese media was very skeptical about using these terms. So this is so much of flux that there are two countries. If China was so eager to invite Vladimir Putin to their country, they should have made a big deal about it in their domestic newspapers and everything, which was not done. On the other hand, if Putin was not so ready to go to China for BRI project, then why Russian media touted him as the chief guest? So there's so many conflicting informations coming out that there is not one theory that you could make about their how their relationship vis-a-vis BRI is going. If Putin is happy with the BRI thing, if he's not. One thing is very clear, that Russia will not be happy with China being the superpower. That is one area of dominance that Russia wanted in the, during the Cold Wars and everything. They wanted an alternate system to the US. And that psyche, that Russian psyche, will not allow at least the leadership, the current leadership which was there till since then, would not allow Chinese to take that kind of position ideologically to become the next superpower. So even if they're cooperating with Russians are cooperating with China's, they do not want China to become the next superpower. That is very clear. So despite their support for BRI, they would be skeptical about becoming BRI being the sole reason of China becoming next economic military power. That's
Do you
very
think
clear.
both, you think both the leaders kind of use this forum for each their own selfish purposes, just to,
Absolutely.
Putin wanted to travel abroad and it had to be apart from one of the stans. No, to be honest, I mean, because the last time he went, he's been only visiting the stans, right?
Hmm.
So he had to also say, see, I am free, I am not in this thing, I can go here, I can go to China. And Xi
Hmm.
Jinping wanted a big name to come because nobody else was there.
Hmm.
How
No,
do
you're
you kind
correct.
of, I mean, it's funny that this is the game. And when China lovers would see our conversation, they will say these two are hawks. But in the ground level, that's what I kind of look at. How do you would you like to add anything to
Uh,
that?
no, you're right. You're right. Currently, we are seeing two parallel systems happening: one US and Western led, and second is China, Russia, and the like minded leaders that are there. Obviously, it gives both Russia being the prior superpower and China being trying to become the next one. It gives an opportune time at these kind of events where the leaders of so many countries and representatives of 140 countries are still there, and even the UN Secretary General is being there. It's a huge matter of pride for Russia and China to be represented at the multilateral level where Western leaders are not heading it, where China or Russia are heading it. So definitely, you're right in saying that it's a prestige matter for both the leaders to be standing with the rest of the world leaders, including the international organizations. So this gives him opportune time, and for that matter, Putin definitely doesn't get to travel much because of his war crime, whatever record, that he would be arrested in so many other countries if he tries to go. So that is one big reason that he does not travel. He's not allowed to travel. Health being the second, which becomes sometimes, if you read more into it, there are several health issues with him, and that's why he does not participate with in large groupings, and people where too many people are involved. If you see those kind, even if he's appearing, there would be very bilateral kind of one leader, two leaders would be present. Those kind of appearances, he's kind of where he can manipulate the entire venue menu with the entire thing. So yeah, means you're correct to say that it's a multilateral level kind of appearance that they want to put up in front of the world, which is not Western led.
But there is also a agreement which has been signed between both the countries with regards to the northern trade route. Now that is
Hmm.
interesting because here is the same Putin that would never allow Chinese ships into the northern routes. Do you think he will allow them now? And what do you think that agreement is all about?
So I'm yet to read that agreement. I've not read the agreement, but that is for sure that China, definitely Russians are not happy China becoming a Arctic, near Arctic country. That is very clear. So I am very sure. Maybe if I read that, I can tell more about it. But prima facie, they are signing these kind of project, cooperation. I think they are trying to set up some limits for each other. Maybe they're just trying to define it that even if we both have to cooperate, what would be the limit of cooperation? Because Russia would definitely want that.
That's interesting. How do you think the the whole number that the Chinese are talking about? Oh, we've signed agreements worth X and X billion dollars and
Hmm.
this and that,
Hmm. Hmm.
and we see that the previous time that the Chinese there was I think the 10th anniversary of the CPEC
Hmm.
when वो आए हुए थे यहाँ पर उसका जो one of the vice ministers had come here, and
Hmm.
the Pakistanis were very anxious to get some more investment with regards to CPEC, and the Chinese said no, 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 can't do anything right now.
Hmm.
Now today they're saying, "Oh no, we'll build the M1 for you. We'll this thing." What is that all about? I mean, Pakistan is a basket case. Why would China go back into that area? Uh, China has also moved into involved the Afghans or the Talibani Afghan into the BRI. How do
Hmm.
you see the Pakistani and the Talibani part of it? Taliban part of it? Is China also creating an alternative route for itself to hit the Indian Ocean with its newfound friend in Iran? Because the Pakistanis are failing, or they're also keeping the Pakistanis in a latch so that they can hold a little influence in this region. How do you kind of see? It's a mismatch. It's quite a Teda meda game. Why would you want to do all this stuff with these two, for the lack of a better word, terroristic nations?
So in the end, if I can use it this way, for China, values, despite they saying values and norms, Chinese values and Asian values do not matter for China. If they would have mattered so much, they wouldn't have made, terrorism, these kind of relationship with the countries which have those kind of terrorist. And remind you, the entire existence of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, was based on terrorism. That China wanted to fight terrorism out. So, 20, 30 years down the line, now we see China teaming with countries which are rampant with terrorism, with a hotbed of terrorism. So it's not about the terrorism factor or the Islam factor or religion or anything. It is only about making money, getting in, cooperative agreements with as many countries, even if they are antagonistic to each other. Even if Iran, Pakistan would not see eye to each other, but if China is benefiting out of both of them, they
Why
will
not?
go ahead and make. Why not? You all keep on fighting. That's not my business. I am here for my business. As many as trade routes I would want, both, I would take from Iran, I would take it from Pakistan. So I
Hmm.
think that is the kind of mentality we have to start looking China as. Then not that they are not, they are very clear, very very practical about their approach, in that. Also talking about the investments, as I said, the investment figures that China keeps talking about. They always talk about इतना investment दे दिया है या हम इतना investment देने वाले हैं और ना इतना पैसा डालेंगे, पर कितने पैसा अभी तक यूज हुआ या कितना पैसा, रिपोर्ट जो होती है ना, मतलब हाउ मच ट्रिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स प्रोजेक्ट्स हैव कम अप, ऐसे ऐसे रिपोर्ट्स यू विल barely see ever. So even if you see these recent figures that कि अभी recent उन्होंने बोला है that they are at 19 trillion, the trade, the BRI trade is around 19 trillion, and next 4 years में they will be taking it to 32 trillion in goods and 5 trillion in um, services.
Services.
And so these are the kind of figures that they keep on throwing. But in the end, if you read again that outcome document, it is all about we will be promising, we will be doing, we will be giving, we will be, will be. It's all futuristic. So I think I, for myself, would not. I would just leave it at the face value that these are the included figures that it wants to show that how much money it can put. But it's only after a few years down the line you'll see that kitna paisa, because if you remember a lot of projects that were promised by China earlier, kitne paise diye jayenge, case by case, country by country, you can find out कि
Yeah, yeah.
कितने पैसे how much money was what
Actually done.
agreed, and how
Hmm.
much money was actually given. And it's the examples are plenty
Hmm.
online if you find. So I don't know. Means I would not read too much into it. I
Okay.
would just find.
La- No, no,
Yeah,
please.
yes. No, no, that's it. Please go ahead.
Okay. Lastly, I wanted to also ask you about Xi Jinping. As I said, the Chinese people have called Wang Yi out pretty badly. Uh, excuse me. So the
Let's
Chinese
start.
people have called Wang Yi out pretty badly with regards to, you know, what are you doing? Where's the money and this and that? That tells you that there is a tacit understanding within a certain segment, however small it may be, of China, which will not be happy with what is happening in the country in terms of all this stuff. What does that do to the position of Xi Jinping himself? I mean, we know what all he's been doing with "Tu idhar aa, you go home, you go home, you go home." You
Hmm.
know, the lonely leader does not want to listen to anyone now. So how do you see that situation building up with regards to his personal standing within China?
Oh, that is a very interesting question because there was this entire team of people that he had brought up, handpicked to, which was supporting team to him. And then we see one by one after another, these military leaders and political leaders are standing up to him and,
Yeah.
maybe not agreeing to his way of things or whatever. And they, all of a sudden they are purged out. You find them missing. They are, out of the public scene for weeks altogether, months altogether, before coming back after weeks. They saying I was on a, whatever personal this thing, shutti or something. So it's quite interesting to see that how Xi Jinping is finding it difficult within his own coterie to exert that kind of influence and power. And I'm very sure will be very well observed by the Chinese people as well, that there is this leader who is facing so many problems in the country. At the top of it, instead of resolving those issues with the help of his team and political leaders, military leader, whatever, he's purging them out. So I think it shouldn't be seen very positively by the Chinese public. But somehow, Chinese perception and Chinese, this thing is so well managed by the leadership there, that even if there are small pockets or even bigger pockets of resistance and resentment within China, we do not see that coming out. We always keep on seeing this kind of rosy picture for Xi Jinping.
And the
This
picture is
is
too good.
very, very well managed. Like if you see
Yeah.
you have to give it to him, to his PR team basically for that.
You really think so when he has to literally bring back his foreign minister and tell him bugger off? That's like quite a, you know,
That's like showing that if you do not fall in line with me, you are out. So basically, it's just also showing to next to the people. If I can show door to Gangi, I can show door to anyone. So better fall in line. And also, he's trying to develop their alternates. He's trying to prepare next gen of leaders, because after Xi Jinping, who will be taking over his legacy? He has to provide, he has to purge out people who do not agree with him, but at the same time develop the next generation of leadership which will take forward his legacy. Would he be alive in 2047? Hardly so.
I
So,
hope not.
but but he has this legacy. He wants China to be in certain ways in 2050 and 2049, 2047. So he would have to develop those kind of legacy and those kind of leadership people that who would take further his legacy. Otherwise,
I'm gonna squeeze one more out of you if you don't mind. How do you kind of look at the what's happening in the South China Sea in terms of the Chinese pushing back onto Philippines? Philippines seems
hmm,
to be in the crosshair more than anybody else today. Why and how do you look at it?
I am okay. I support Philippines for the reason, because they have been the victim, but they were the only ones that who could stand up against China in 2013, bring out that case against it, despite China saying we will not fight you. You are not, we cannot fight this case. This is not even a case and all that. They still went ahead, went to permanent court of arbitration, fought the entire case for next 3 years, won it, and still they are standing up. What exactly is happening right now is that I think Philippines is also doing it on purpose. That there was this long amount of time when they were not being very aggressive in South China Sea. They knew that they have smaller military. They don't have, they are on the uh, power equation is very,
Mm,
the
mm.
differential is too high. So they would lose out anyway. So they were not taking step up. What exactly has happened is there has to be, the credit has to go to both the US support to them, because that gives them huge boost of confidence, but also a lot of academic, mm, intellectual inputs that have recently gone into the Filipino mindset. And I have been, because present in a lot of them, and I've seen that how their mindset have shifted. The Coast Guards and the Navy, Philippine Navy, now they know they're small, they can't do much, but they have this. So they are making it a point that even if I'm smaller, I will make it a point, if this Sierra Madre ka chota sa tuta futa ship is mine, I will go there and place few soldiers over there, and every few days I will go for replenishment sorties. And they're making a point, and also they're taking media people on board. Even if Chinese do something, you record and show it to the public. So they're making a show out of it now. That's what a smaller power can do. You can't fight, but you can expose the samne wala person, right? They're exposing what China does. Till 2 3 years back, how many incidents have you heard about Filipino Chinese getting into they used to get into this used to be once in few months, and
Yeah,
Filipinos used to gently back out. Now, if you see each other, aggressive way, Filipinos have gone ahead in South China Sea and claiming their rights, and fishermen have become very aggressive. They would, even if there is a Chinese CCG, ship there and not letting them go, they will just do some kind of maneuvers next to it and still go. So I think there is a growing realization within Filipinos themselves that if they can't help themselves, nobody else will come to help them.
nobody else will.
The only way of doing it is expose Chinese activities. Do go to if this area belongs to me. If I'm a Filipino, this area belongs to me. I will go there, and if China is trying to stop me, I will expose them in front of the world through media that this is what China does. And China has been receiving a lot of backlash and you know support for Filipino cause has increased multifold in the
Yeah.
past few years. I think Filipinos are playing their game pretty well.
I'm gonna put a stop to this interview right now, but I'm gonna get you back to talk about this particular region. There's a lot of mirchi masala happening in that area. India is also kind of putting his fingers in the middle, and a little curry paste is also going in. So it's an interesting sort of a conundrum. Uh, when we say it, it's okay. Not when the Brits and the Americans say it. So that's racist.
Curries ours.
That is ours.
Hmm.
Uh, so there's a lot which is happening in that region which needs to be looked at. I think
Absolutely.
a lot of us have been focused on Israel, especially me. For me, that region is a little dear to my heart. Personally speaking, I've been that's probably the region that got me interested in geopolitics to get go.
Middle
So
East.
now it's, I think, time to switch back into uh, the real issues of China. But thank you so much, Dr. Pooja, for coming down, and it's always a pleasure talking to you. We will, as I said, try and schedule another one to talk about Philippines. Till then, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you.